and gentlemen, at this time we're going to begin the service for Pamela Joy McKinnis. Pastor Mark Perkowitz will be officiating. I invite those of you here, please be sure that your cell phones have been turned off. We welcome those of you who are joining us online. The ceremony of Kriya, of tearing of the ribbon, was done earlier this afternoon, and at this time we're going to begin the sacred memorial service.
I'm going to begin with the reading, Time for Everything. There is a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to tear down and a time to build, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance, a time to scatter stones and a time to gather them, a time to embrace and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to search and a time to give up, a time to keep and a time to throw away, a time to tear and a time to mend, a time to be silent and a time to speak, a time to love and a time to hate, a time for war and a time for peace. Like Pam, I'm a Scientology minister. I'm honored by her husband, Mike, asking me to perform the funeral service today for Pam. I know there are folks here today with various faith backgrounds, but one thing all faiths have in common is the knowledge or belief that when we die, we do not just fade into nothing. We still exist, but in a different form, in a different place. I would like to share part of a sermon that our founder, L. Ron Hubbard, gave regarding this phenomena of death. The whole subject of death has been one of the more mysterious subjects to man. In the first place, a man is composed of a body, a mind, and what we refer to as a thetan, the Scientology word for the spirit, the individual being himself who handles and lives in the body. A very effective way to demonstrate this is by saying, look at your body. Have you got a body there? Good. Get a mental picture of a cat. Did you? That picture is a mental image picture, and it's part of the mind. The mind is composed of pictures that interassociate, act, and carry perceptions. Now, while looking at this actual picture, I ask you, what's looking at it? This procedure gives a person a considerable subjective reality on the idea that he himself is a being that is independent of a mind or body. There is an actual separateness there. So what happens to a man when he dies? Basically, all that happens is that a separation occurs between the thetan, or the spirit, and the body. Ordinarily, when a person dies, he backs out of his body, thinking of his responsibilities, knowing who he is, where he's been, and what he has been doing. And if he is in any condition at all, this is what occurs. He backs out at the moment of death with full memory. He knows who he is. He usually has a pretty good perception. He knows where his friends are. A person doesn't just back out ordinarily and forget all about it. He backs out of it with full identity and hangs around for quite a while. The being is usually there for the funeral, certainly. He will very often hang around his possessions to see that they are not abused. He can be given upset if his wishes aren't carried out with regard to certain things. Losing your pocketbook, some treasured possession, or your body are all alike. But because of the mechanism of forgetting, a great mystery is made of this, and that is the phenomena of death. Now I'd like to perform a funeral service for Pam that our founder also authored. Into the dark has come the light, enters night into heaven. Go no more into life, our spirits soar, conquering ever wisdom's store. We do not tremble, faced with death. We know that living is not breath. Prevail. Go, Pam, and take the life that offers now, and live in good expectancy that we will do our part. Go, Pam, you can control that which you must. Our loss is gain in wisdom and in skill, to future dates and other smiles, and so we send into the chain of all enduring time our heritage, our hope, our friend. Goodbye, Pam. Your people thank you for having lived, and your people thank you for having lived. Earth is better for having lived. Men, women, and children are alive today because you lived. We thank you for coming to us. We do not contest your right to go away. Your debts are paid. This chapter of thy life is shut. Go now, dear Pam, and live once more in happier time and place. Thank you, Pam. All now here, lift up your eyes and say to her, goodbye. Goodbye. Goodbye, dear Pam. Goodbye. We'll miss you, you know. Let the body now draw away to be consumed to ashes and to dust, in earthly and in clearly fire, to be no more, no more. And that is done. Come, friend, she is all right and she is gone. We have our work to do, and she has hers. She will be welcome there. That is the end of the service. All right, now I'd like to invite Mike, her husband, to come up and say a few words.
I would like to thank you all for coming. When our daughter Kelly posted of Pam's passing on Facebook, we were deeply moved by the number of positive comments. Pam touched a lot of lives. Pam was diagnosed with cancer in 2016. She was very private, and only her family and a couple close friends knew about it. She faced cancer with courage and optimism. Pam was born on September 13, 1960. She is survived by her mother, Marion. Her father, Seymour, passed away in 2012. Marion played a big role in Pam's life, both in family and in business. Pam and I had the goal to create a home-based business, and Pam's efforts were in retail e-commerce. Pam and Marion went to trade shows in Las Vegas for many years. Later, when our business grew, Marion worked at our home for many more years, and those were very good years. Pam is also survived by her sister Sherry and brother Jay. Pam had a cordial relationship with Sherry. Sherry called her frequently over the past few months, and I think those conversations gave Pam a lot of comfort. Jay is the ne plus ultra of brothers. Ne plus ultra is a Latin term meaning highest point capable of being attained. These last few weeks were tough, and Jay was right by Pam's side, giving comfort to her and giving me incredible support and help in working out all the logistics. Nurses in the hospital remarked at how devoted he was, and after a few days, they were all on a first-name basis. Jay's actions represent how much he and Pam loved and respected each other. Jay, you may not have seen it, but I saw in Pam's eyes how grateful she was for your presence. You were there for her when it counted. Pam is also survived by our daughter, Kelly. With Kelly, Pam decided to have a home birth. So on February 8th, 1993, Kelly was born in our home in Chicago. A day earlier, and she would have been a birthday present for me. Kelly and Pam connected from the beginning, and their relationship was only deepened over the years. And they're still connected. Let me tell you a story. Kelly and her husband, Matlock, are wedding photographers, and Kelly subscribes to a wardrobe service so she can dress in the style the bride has chosen for their wedding. And the brides really like that. So she wanted to get a dress for this service today in Pam's favorite color, green. So she went through the dresses online, and she found a beautiful dark emerald green one, the one she's wearing today. There you are. Now, what was the brand name of that dress? The brand name was Pamela Love. Yeah, they're still connected. In the 1980s, Pam discovered Scientology, as did I. Pam quickly saw the value in Scientology and how it could help herself and others, and she made the decision to devote her life to delivering Scientology to others. I met her while I was on staff at the church in Chicago. I was a course supervisor and she was a student. And by the way, she was the prettiest student in the course room. On our first date, we went to a coffee shop. It was one of those first dates where you look up 5 hours later and it's dark outside and you go, wow, where did the time go? Yes, we fell in love, but I like to think more we fell into communication. We could talk to each other about anything and everything. Being married to Pam was so easy. We had no drama in our marriage. In fact, we never ended the day on an unresolved argument. We just never did have arguments. Pam did have a time of it, though, with idioms. She got them all mixed up. For an example, we would be discussing some upcoming business thing and how we might handle it. And when we worked it all out, she'd say, well, we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. I shook my head, oh, Pammy, come on. We would laugh, and Pam, it was so easy for Pam to laugh. And she had a smile that would absolutely light up the room, and that smile will be with me forever. In 1991, Pam made the decision to work full-time at the Church of Scientology in Chicago. For over 33 years, Pam delivered or supervised the delivery of Scientology services to many, many people whose lives greatly improved as a result. She was known to be very professional and effective. Pam touched the lives of many and in return received much love and admiration for her patience, caring nature, and concern for the well-being of all those around her. Kelly asked her once why she continued to work at the church, and Pam told her she wanted to be able to say that she did something to help. Well, Pam, you sure did. Thank you.
All right. So now Jay, Pam's brother, would like to say a few words.
Good afternoon. When I was thinking about what I was going to say today, it occurred to me that many siblings are probably close as children, and then when they get older, they drift apart. And they have their own families and they have lives of their own. But in our case, things were different. Pam and I were not very close as kids, but as we got older, we became more involved in each other's lives. This room is filled with friends and family who Pam loved, and we are all going to miss her very much. But there are so many people here who never met Pam. I have friends of mine, friends of Jane's, friends of our family. So I am deeply grateful to everyone who is here. For whatever reason you are connected to Pam, I want to thank you for being here to help us honor and celebrate her life. I'm also thankful to anybody who is streaming today. This includes my sister Sherry and all of her girls, and my niece's husband Matt, who were unable to make it. If you knew Pam, I don't have to tell you how special she was. And if you didn't know her, she was the kind of person that would have made you better for knowing her. She was interested, she was interesting, she was always very easy for me to talk to. So now I'd like to spend a few more minutes sharing some things with you so that you know what kind of a person Pam was. We grew up with 5 people living in an 1,100 square foot house. We moved into Chesterfield Gardens in Niles in 1968. Pam was 8, I was 4, Sherry was 1. In those days, I remember a lot of fighting going on with my sisters. When we were kids, I spent much of my free time trying to pick the lock on Pam's bedroom door with a screwdriver. And I remember Pam, probably by no choice of her own, being my assistant when I did magic shows. When Pam was 12, she brought home a tiny twig from school. It was Arbor Day, and the teacher gave all the kids plants to take home and take care of and nurture. So she took the plant and she planted it on the side of the house with our dad. And I remember my dad used to brace it from the wind and the rain with sticks and string to just sort of nurture it along. So then 16 years later, that tiny twig that came home on a bus was a full-grown tree. It grew so big that our neighbor used to complain about how the leaves would fall off of our tree into his yard. I think that tree was foreshadowing of Pam's determination, strength, and fortitude. In her mid-teens, she entered some kind of a raffle, and shortly after that, there was a knock at our front door with a delivery. And to this day, I don't understand the prize, but Pam had won the largest candle that I had ever seen. So when I was little, I mean, I don't know how big it really was, but when I was little, I imagine it like 2 feet in diameter, a foot tall, and it was made out of little, like, colorful cubes of wax that looked like ice cubes. So if you were ever in our house, you would remember that candle. I see Carrie is nodding. There's a picture of it on one of these boards, so you can see what it is. But in my mind, when I think of that candle, I see Pam as a teenager with her whole life in front of her. At one point, when Pam was probably close to 20, she worked as a waitress in a fine dining restaurant, and she got me a job working in the bar as an entertainer. When we were in our 30s, Pam and Mike were busy raising Kelly, and I think because Jane and I didn't have kids, and because I was so busy with work, that there were some missed opportunities to spend more time together. But when we were in our 40s, that's when we hit our stride together. When our dad got sick in 2007, that was when we teamed up as a duo. At that point, I was established in business, and Pam had become a highly trained supervisor in the Church of Scientology, where she dedicated most of her life. For the 5 years our dad wasn't well, we did everything we could to help him. During his last year, we spent endless days and nights in assisted livings, nursing homes, and hospitals. But it brought us together, and even at the worst of times, we still found so many things to laugh and joke about. I think that was when I became aware of Pam's signature response to anything that she found surprising or frustrating or disappointing or startling or whatever it was. It would always elicit the same response, and she would say, "Oh my God." And then she would laugh. Pam and Mike built their Amazon business together, but it was Pam that started it, and it was her idea. She took pride in everything she sold, whether it was jewelry, kids' clothes, or art supplies. Somewhere along the line, we both inherited the wholesale and retail genes, giving us even more in common and further helping create a bond. We had a special kind of a relationship. It was what you might say about an old friend. We didn't talk every day, and sometimes we didn't talk for weeks, but if enough time went by where we could catch up with each other, it was like no time had passed at all. As adults, we never fought or even so much as disagreed on almost anything. Pam was a gentle soul with a kind heart. We had a mutual understanding that children have a responsibility to help and spend time with their aging parents. Pam did that with grace and dignity with our dad, and again, in spite of her busy work schedule, she spent every Saturday with our mom until she could no longer tolerate the long drive to Glenview for Saturday afternoon lunches and shopping runs to Costco. During the summer of 2017, when we knew our dad was dying, Pam and I were with him in the nursing home every night near the end, but we didn't know when the actual end was going to come. It was September 7th, 2012. He had been suffering, and I had tickets to see Bruce Springsteen at Wrigley Field. Should I go? Should I cancel? Should I go? Should I cancel? So Pam told me that I should go because he was unconscious and there was no way to know when it would happen. So I went, and sure enough, halfway through the concert, I get a text, and all Pam said was 2 words: he's gone. When I saw Pam later that night, she explained to me that she was sitting in the room with Dad, and she was still able to non-verbally communicate with him. She said she explained to him that she would see him again in another life. Pam told me Dad asked her, "How will I know it's you?" Pam said she told him she will hand him something green, and I never knew her favorite color was green. I remember being surprised by these specific and bizarre details and not knowing what to think. It sounded fantastical and Pollyannish to me at the time. But in the years since then, I gained a better understanding that this is how Pam lived her entire adult life. She believed that the body and the spirit are not the same thing. She believed the spirit is a resident in a physical body. And when the body fails, the spirit moves on. Pam had an awesome spirit. Sorry. I was talking to a friend of mine the other day about all of this, and one of the topics that came up was regret. He said it's impossible when you lose someone to not feel like you have some regrets. But then he asked me, did you love her and did she know it? Yes.
Okay, thank you. Now we're going to have some musical entertainment by Jamie and Eric Martin.
Harerim, Shalom, Harerim, Shalom, Shalom. Lehitraot, Lehitraot, Shalom, Shalom. Goodbye, my friends, be safe, my friends, have peace, till we meet again, till we meet again, have peace, have peace. Well, we are gathered here today to sing and praise and celebrate. We will celebrate our Pammy J. To all of us, she was a gift. Each one of us, she did uplift. We will celebrate our Pammy J. 'Cause to know her is to love her. And I know all of us here feel the same. Yes, to know her is to love her. And we all love our Pammy J. She was elite, she was refined, and she kept others on her mind. Was humble for the princess that she was. Her temper wasn't lost too much. She had that calm and soothing touch, a level head, sane advice to all of us. Yes, to know her is to love her, and I know all of us here feel the same. To know her is to love her. We all love our Pammy J. Yes, she had this youthful, funny way of messing up a well-known phrase, just like a bowl in a china shop. And by the skin of her tail, a super fashion model fail would get us laughing, so we couldn't stop. To know her is to love her. I know all of us here feel the same. To know her is to love her. We all love our Pammy J. A creative and artistic heart with entrepreneurial smart. She was a total package through and through. And anytime she was nearby, regardless of the reason why, she made you feel the most important thing was you. And even in the last days of her life here on earth, she was putting her friends and her family first. We all love our Pammy J. We all love our Pammy J. We all love our Pammy J. Yeah, we all love our Pammy J.
That was beautiful. I ask you to rise for the memorial prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim. We read in English, El Malei Rachamim, O God, full of compassion, thou who dwellest on high, grant perfect rest beneath the sheltering wings of thy presence among the holy and pure who shine as the brightness of the firmament unto the soul of Pammy J, who has gone into eternity. Lord of mercy, bring her under the cover of thy wings, and let her soul be bound up in the bond of eternal life. Be God's possession, may her repose be peace. Amen. We conclude with the mourner's Kaddish, and by way of introduction, the word Kaddish just means sanctity. So marriage is Kiddushin, sanctity, the work we do at a funeral home, Chevra Kadisha. When at Friday nights or when you bless the wine, it's Kiddush. All comes from the root word of sanctity, of Kadesh, holiness. It was written in Aramaic, a common language of the Jewish people. It really just speaks about adjectives about God. In the face of death, we've adopted this to say that you have to still acknowledge God's presence. However, when they added the last line, they added it in Hebrew, the holy language of our people, which is now the common language, and it speaks only of peace. The word shalom is hello, goodbye, peace, but the root word is shalem, completeness. And we can only hope that she had a complete, though shortened life. We read together, Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'alma divra chirutei v'amlich malchutei, v'chayechonu v'yomechonu v'chayedechol Beit Yisrael, v'agala v'zman kariv v'imuramein. Yehei shmei rabbah mevorach leolam v'lomei maya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha brichu, le'elah min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechamata da'amiran v'alma v'imuramein. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imuramein. Oseh shalom b'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. We invite everyone to please be seated as we extend our condolences to the family, the traditional words of Hamakom Yenachem Etchem B'toch Sha'ar Avlei Tzion V'Yerushalayim. Ladies and gentlemen, the services here at the chapel are concluded. The family requests memorial contributions to any charity that you wish, and the family will be together for Shiva or calls of condolence till 9 p.m. I invite everyone to please rise as we escort the family from the chapel. Then momentarily you're invited to the North Chapel. This concludes the service.